Now from the Home Center Ministerial Team, Minister of Prayer, Reverend Joe Pinecoff, for our opening prayer. God, we stand in awe of your creation, our Mother Earth. We know that the spark of life within each of us is the spark of your divine love that we are to share with everyone near and far. Differences among cultures and races, men and women, are merely multicolored refractions of God's light and God's love. Our hearts and minds are open to celebrate the similarities and differences among people. As we send God's love out to every corner of our planet, the wounds that are created by the perceived differences of racism and racial hatred dissolve, and understanding, justice, and love will be in their place. May all people live in God's love and light. So be it. Amen.
All the power was off in this area, and we had the sound of music. Such magnificent music. The ice storm came through, and on Thursday night at 11 o'clock, the first tree fell in the throughway, Lancaster Drive. It's been turned into an expressway, but with the tree falling all the way across the street, it kind of slowed the drivers down. I don't understand that. They had one lane left. And I hope that those of you who live in the area, you come and look at the artwork the trees have left in the front yard. We dump trees everywhere out there. That's what I was doing here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, singing that song. All the things fall in the street, fall out any place, but don't fall on the house. And they're listening. I don't know who did all the work, but I am grateful. So my song was then is, fall wherever you want to go, but just don't hit the house. And that's what had happened. And this is what's been really going on. It's kind of hard to talk about this day because we just got done celebrating my birthday. A year ago, we had one death to pandemic, and then we all know what all the numbers are now. And there's been a strange, bizarre community that's been going on for this last year. And we can do one of two things. We can look at the downside, the destruction of property, loss of life in the streets, and injuries and conflicts, and everything that's gone sideways. And those of us that like to play the violin all the time, we had a lot of violins listening. I spent more time crying this past year for the souls that were put in unmarked graves. That I know what that's like. I lived in a community where the poverty people were done that way, put in unmarked graves. But the world keeps marching on. And then on the upside, look at all the new medicines that's come out. We now use the National Guard to work in these get your shops and working in the hospitals for us. We've found ways to feed the people, clothe them, give them money that we never even thought was possible before. And children even come up with solutions. I really delight with the radios and TVs of H.O.M.E programs where kids come up with ways to raise money, to feed people. And I thought one of the best shots was last night where people in Chicago are being carjacked. And the guy runs a used car lot, and he's giving them free cars that were carjacked. And people were coming in, getting a car from them and driving away, no bills, no nothing. It's all paid for. And I thought, where have we been? What did we need a crisis like this to really come forward and say, we are a community, not just a family, not a tribe. There's you and us, and there's we. And this is the first time I really have been looking at the United States is finally realizing its purpose of being created. In God we trust. It isn't how the person says in God we trust. We all trust the same one, and it rewards us in like kind. whatever we put up here, we want in our lives, it happens out here. And then we say, well, why did that happen? Well, what have you been dwelling on lately? The law of attraction. And that's what I thought was interesting about walking around this property and saying, God, I don't want any of these trees fall on this house. And the only thing he didn't do, I must admit, when some of those pieces that are about this big around, I hope you get a chance to see them out in the front yard, when they came down, the whole house shook. And at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, it kind of rattled me a little bit, especially when you go to turn on the light and, oh, there's no power. Someone said to me, why don't you start your fireplaces? I said, no electricity to start the gas to make it work. Oh, well, he said, well, how's your meals? I said, they're cold. Because I have an electric cooking facility. The only thing that was working, which was annoying as heck, is my little alarm clock. It would go off because it was run on batteries. The only thing I have in this house running on batteries, all the rest. But I'm smarter than some people. Some guy up in Portland got one of these power generators and self-wired it in or something.
Hardwired it in.
Hardwired it in, and when the power came on, it burned his house down. We're learning something every day. Every day. And if we don't laugh about it and see it as a learning exercise, not punishment, God doesn't punish us. We're too busy doing things to punish ourselves. You don't give him a chance. You don't really give him a chance. Just think about it sometime. In this past year, I've seen some people do some crazy things, and I'm thinking, and they say, well, God, why did this happen to me? I said, well, you're the one who did it. So why are you complaining to God? You should be asking, now I did something stupid, show me how to unstupid it. Or something. It is, and that's what it seems like. We closed out this year, and everybody's been crying poverty and everything else. But I have to tell you, God, it does take care of us. This was some people would call it a miracle, and I call it whatever. But at the end of the year, December 31st, we did our books, and we've been out people most of the time, March, April, May, we've been doing this. We've only been doing this since fall, hasn't it?
The Zoom part we've only done since fall.
Yeah. And we were $56 to the good, in the black. I call it blue, but everybody says it's got to say black. All the bills paid, and still had that much money left over. And I'm thinking, what else can you need? You don't need a pile of money when you got a banker upstairs, and he takes care of it. Every time there was a big bill come in, there was someone that wrote out a check someplace around the United States and said, I think you need some money. And so they sent me a check, it paid the bill. And it's playing the game of life. By Florence Shinn played one, 1926. She wrote a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And a friend gave that to me when I was 30 years of age, and I started playing the game that she talked about in 1926. The only thing that makes a difference is she was talking about pennies when pennies meant something, or nickels. Dollar bills are about the same as a penny back then, and all the different activities. But this is what it is. We've had a whole year of walking around, and we can walk with grace and say, I'm seeking the right action for the highest and greatest good of myself and those around me who want to play the game, and be a part of the sharing and community activity. And they say, well, nobody's going to tell me what to do. Well, if it works, why not? If God told you to do this, and you said, well, who are you to tell me? Then why are you asking for help? We're here to play the game, making words flesh. We came with a whole agenda. What do we want to do with this lifetime? Like yesterday, I hadn't seen this young lad for 20 years. He calls me up stopped by and started talking to me. He came to see me over 20 years ago. He designed a program to put on a computer to give you a tour of a nursing home or apartment complex. He was way ahead of his time. He kept saying, well, why can't I get this off the ground? And I said, there isn't a piece of equipment that can work your system yet. You're just about 9 months ahead of the schedule. And his mom come to see me and she said, I gotta talk to you straight off from the shoulder. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, you told my son that maybe this thing won't get off the ground for 9 months. Do you know I'm supporting him? Mm-hmm. He's 20-some years old and I'm still supporting my kid. He's living in an apartment and paying the groceries. I said, well, he's getting an early inheritance. But it was true. It was like, I said to her, he's ahead of time. He must have been listening to someone in the universe showing him a system. And all of a sudden, when the equipment got up there, he said, I could walk down the street. He came here and told me, he said, I walked down the street and there was a panhandler. I'd hand him a $20 bill. I felt like John D. Rockefeller. Everything was coming up roses. And he was so proud that all of a sudden something happened and he didn't own the company anymore. Now he's looking at me and come back. He's doing some farm work and everything else. And he wants to be a part of creation, part of bringing the United States back to the way it was created for. Freedom for everyone, a community, build on. I said, well, you know, everybody come from other countries to abandon what was wrong in their country. They came here, but some ways we forget to get rid of those. They were so comfortable, sometimes we still want to keep them practicing here. They don't belong here anymore. And this shakeout, I think, is making it possible for us to realize what was good under the kings and queens and emperors and all of that. Well, we're a place where we speak our mind, and we should have the freedom to do that. Well, we don't need to destroy everything to speak our mind, to say we want to change things as they were back to where they were. We kind of got lost. And God shakes us up sometimes. He doesn't make all of these things take place. We contaminate the earth. I think of that song, the hills around us are singing. I asked God one day, in the past year when all of this was going on, I said, why am I living in Oregon? I'm a Pennsylvanian. I was going to go live in New York City. He said, you know, aren't you glad we steered you away from New York City? Look what they had down there. Oh, yeah. And then you moved to Ohio, and he says, aren't you glad you're not there? And then you moved to Portland, he says, aren't you glad you're not there? We put you down here, we're safe. I said, but the trees have fallen down. They didn't fall on the house. You know, I like talking to this old guy or girl or somebody. Sometimes she talks in a high pitch, so I think God plays games with me from time to time. He can be anything he wants, just like that. We try to standardize everything and make it one stationary. And that's one of the reasons Home Center is here. It's helping ourselves master every day. Living a life is a game. How can I become more? How can I demonstrate the gifts that I've had in past lives that I've realized don't pay off? These things pay off, and share them with people to help them become more. This is not a penal colony. As bad as some people tell me about how it's so bad, and I'm thinking, if we didn't have a downside, we'd be bored to death. Just imagine, every day you got up, all your bills were paid, everything went well, you didn't put a dent in the car today, you didn't fall down today, you put your clothes in the washing machine and it comes out all wrinkle-free, and everything was just put away, just like the whole world was serving you. Wouldn't it be boring? What would you learn today? Oh, I learned my machine can wash my clothes and fold it. That's what I learned today. Oh, isn't that wonderful? And there's pots and pans are cooking away my food, and that little pot, he's burnt my food. Shame on you. We would be in a Disney World. Remember? It would make fine. I wish Disney would show one of those where everything goes perfect, and then we could just blame every item about why they're inconveniencing us. But is it inconvenient? I look back, one of the things I've realized in this past year, some of the things during the Depression when I was a kid growing up, my parents were working 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and we didn't see them much. I was raising my brother, was a year younger than I, and we learned self-sufficient. We learned how to do our own laundry, cook our meals and stuff like that. And I thought, why can't we be like other people? But all of a sudden, all those things that I thought was a hardship growing up, learning how to survive, survivorship. Then we had World War II, rationing, how to learn how to make things put together to have enough food to eat. And how my mother got so furious when I lost the coupons for me, or me, canned coupons. She'd come home, she said, I don't care if you lose the money, but don't lose the coupons. That means we have to add more water into the soup, or we have to do something to cover up that loss. And I had to learn those values. And then we had the Korean War and the Vietnamese War. We had times when people had rough days, like in the 60s in Buffalo, when all the plants shut down and we had high unemployment, people were trying to survive. They were all learning exercises, not punishment. If they weren't going on, how could we survive even today? All of the things that we've exposed in our lives, when we're not taking them as punishment, but opportunities to survive, how to grow, how to share, realizing I can give it away. I can't take any of this stuff with me. Think of that. People go out and hoard. I'm talking to one person, they're cleaning out their relative's house that passed away. And there's clothes in the closet with the price tag still on. Their whole house is packed full of stuff. They had $30,000 on credit cards. Well, the credit card company just found themselves with $30,000 worth of debt that they have to get rid of. Because how are they going to get off a person that passed away? We can't take any of this stuff with us, but what we can take with us for eternity is what we learn to accommodate, to make something out of nothing, becoming more, realizing life is on a continuance. We pray, and God doesn't always listen to us. Our relatives listen to us. Well, we had a spirit teacher up there. Somewhere the answer is out there, but you have to do the work. And isn't it fantastic? Annoying sometimes, when I figured I'd rather have them do it than me do it, but whatever. And it works. The more you push the plate to ask for demonstrations and you do your part, the rewards come back. They're more valuable than currency of any country, more valuable than diamonds and pearls, because you take it with you forever. It's accumulative. You are a mass of accumulative, that little soul sitting inside here, that dry cell battery. I keep thinking myself like that little pink rabbit. I'm that battery that makes this body go on. I tick, 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 and I beat my little drum, and I'm running around. Of course, I don't have my rabbit outfit on. This is close as I can get to it today. But isn't this a fun place to be? When I was 19, they said I'd only lived to be 83. When I got to 83, I said, there's some things I got to learn yet. Well, now we're up to 91, I think. Yeah. We're going for that 100. I found out when you hit 100, the President of the United States sends you a letter of congratulations. I don't know the full wording, but I think there's some place down in there that says, haven't you been on Social Security long enough? Is it time for you to go? But that's why we have Social Security. That's why we have these things, so we can stay here and keep practicing. Practicing humanity, practicing brotherhood, practicing community, practicing seeing the person, not how their outside looks, but what's inside. What makes him different? Like that guy that was over here. He's trying to find, he says, isn't there a quick way to do it now? I said, no. It's erosion. It's one thing at a time. Just everybody doing something helpful for others besides themselves keeps opening the door to community, where community can now accept everyone as a part of the solution, part of the evolution, part of why we're here. One person said something to me the other day, it kind of jolted me, and I hope it jolts you. He said, you know, we hear about Atlantis. I think it was far away, mystical, magical land. But the more I keep doing some research, the more I think it really existed. Well, they were a nation that got lost in the world, and they blew up their world because they didn't have humanity. They didn't have community. They didn't have people who thought outside the box for all of us equally. So they disappeared. Lemuria and some of those other things. The other day they found a footprint of someone that's 5,000 years ago. I was amazed when we just went back as far as Cleopatra and that. But now we're back 5,000 years. So I guess Atlantis is possible. This planet was put here for us to evolve, to be the warriors, not warriors, but facilitators of the future. When others need help, we will be there because we are a community. That's all it's about. And when we gather together, we see what each of us have to offer. I went way off track. I started this thing yesterday, wrote it up 2 or 3 times, and when I get up here, it doesn't sound good. I think I want to go someplace else. Because when I see y'all, and those of you on the screen up here, I think of a year ago when over 100 people showed up to my birthday party over at the mill. And what was so fantastic about it is everyone came there, and nobody got bent out of shape. There was no arguments, no nothing. There was community. What a fantastic gift. And what was even more fantastic, we had a birthday party here for me last Thursday. There was 5, 10 of us, 11 or 12 of us in here, and 20-some people up on the screen that took time out of their life to join us. They couldn't be here physically, but they joined us. That's community. That was more valuable to me than any gift that you could give, because it showed we have something to share, and I'm glad you're here. You know, it seems difficult, but as a kid growing up, I was not always a very penguin little kid. I was always a pain, shaking the troops. I went to the principal's office quite often. We had a, how are you, principal? He said, you're back here again? I said, yeah. He says, oh my, what did you do this time? I didn't follow the rules or something. I thought school should be fun. Learning should be fun. And just writing things. I have to tell you, one of the things that sent me to the principal's office, the school teacher said, I don't have the lesson plan today, so I want you to write an essay about something that's important to you. And you have an hour to write it in. And I'm sitting there thinking, what do I know an hour's worth of knowledge? So I wrote an essay thinking about writing an essay. And all the problems I had going through this process, I'm looking at the clock is ticking, I'm gonna write on this. No, I don't know that much about that subject. I'll write on this. She said, nobody ever writes about thinking about writing an essay. Go to the principal's office. Oh my. Every time I did something outside the box, it's go to the principal's office. And he finally said, we want some changes put in the school, and I have to go see the school board from time to time. I want this change done. Can you roll up the staff, my kids, the kids in the school, to support it? If it goes down wrong, it's you're to blame. And if it goes up right, I take the bow. And I say, you're on. He says, I didn't think I took on too much, because all of a sudden I'm finding myself at the school board quite often. Defending things that are going on there. But our school, what was the outcome of it? Was we had no school paper. I had them found, I don't know how to run a school paper, but I went and got an English teacher who knew how to find people with talent. I went and found a business manager who knew how to get the paperwork going. And we set up a whole system. And we put it out there. The first year we were in publication, we were honorable mention. The second year, our little town of 15,000 was #1 paper for the state of Pennsylvania, beating out Philadelphia, all of them. It wasn't me, it was the kids, the community that had talent that would put on paper. And someone said to me, well, you must have been pretty proud. I said, nowhere in the record shows that I'm the one that started it, because I didn't want to be that. I wanted the community to buy into it. You are part of the carrying the flag of I care about others besides myself. I want to bring us all together because we all have a gift to share so that we can flourish successfully in the evolution of us. I want to thank you. Thank you for the day. Get out there and break a few
Eggs.
eggs. Thank you for that, because I'm stuck. I like an audience that's with me. So where are we going now?
Do you want to do a little meditation?
Oh yes, let's do that. I don't want to think I want to. I really like you to just close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to take a second or two with me and think of your soul right now hasn't entered into this physical body. You went and picked out a parents, you went and picked out the culture, you picked out everything that you wanted to experience in this lifetime. And you're looking at them. And you're communicating to your Creator and to the angels that are going to work with you on this journey. And they're saying, are you biting off more than you can chew? And back then, before I came in, I thought, I had a history, I've been a winner. I'm going to take on this. I'm going to push the plate. And I entered into this body of 1,001 sounds, feelings, emotions. I'd almost forgot about it. And I had to learn a different culture, different standards. I'm being pushed into stretching. And what's wonderful about it is God gave me a guardian angel to help me follow my book and help me be successfully. And he's talking to me all the time. When you're a little up to 5 or 6, they often hear kids say, I'm losing it. I used to be able to communicate with them, but I'm getting older and I'm losing it. But you never really lose it. They're still communicating to you in thought to say, come on. You have the guts, you have the courage, you're our creation. You're a role model for others and come to earth to expand all that they can be. You're part of creation, and you are creating. So let us think of all the connections we have to the land which our body's made of, our spirit world of people that we've known in other lifetimes, our own history of evolution, and we're demonstrating here on the earth. This whole society is moving ahead because you are stepping up to be who you came here to be. And today, as we go forth in this new year, we're going to say goodbye to pandemic as quickly as we can, because we're going to find a solution. We're going to beat the game. We're going to show everybody we can do it as a community. We are unstoppable. And you're part of the puzzle of solution. Remember when you used to have puzzles and each piece had in its importance to make the picture. You are it. You have the spirit world to help you become more. You have Mother Earth giving you the nourishment to the physical body so you can demonstrate the more. And we are applauding you because you have center stage, because you are a leader. Sometimes you're leading, sometimes you're following. But because I can stop for a moment, do a meditation of saying, I'm open my eyes unto the hills, for whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. And he gives me the helpers to make me master of this game that I said I'm capable of doing. I'm never given a task greater than my ability to perform. I am an ambassador of my Creator. I shall not fail. There is no failure in God's home, because the universe is helping us 24/7. Can you open the door? And the door is open through your meditation, and then your acceptance of the energy to make it so. And finally, we applaud you when you complete the task, because you've moved us closer from tribal to community. It isn't how many things you do, it is that you do the right thing at the right time. You put your finger in the hole in the dike and save the community from a flood of disaster. We bless you. We love you. Please keep working. We need you. Amen.
Arms around the world, around each other. Arms around the world, sisters and brothers. Arms around the world, and we discover. Arms around the world, there